With how many tears I've shed over this story, I'm very surprised I haven't made this video yet. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we are doing a video that I could have sworn I already did, and I didn't, so I'm gonna do it now. And that is ranking Demon Slayer character deaths. I have spent so many hours crying over this show that maybe I just didn't do this because I couldn't bring myself to do it, but here we are. So we're gonna dive just right in because I just want to get this over with. But before we dive in, there are two things I want to go over. Number one is the obvious. This video is going to contain huge Demon Slayer manga spoilers. So if you have not read the manga and you don't want to know who dies in the story, please don't watch this video. Put a pin on it, go read the manga, or I guess wait until the movies come out, which like if you're waiting, good luck to you. And the second thing is just the regular, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. What is your tier list for Demon Slayer deaths? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you are interested in fun exclusive perks, make sure you hit that join button. Supporting the channel financially really helps me in my dream of making this a full-time job. But of course, if you join the channel, you do get access to exclusive perks like fun emojis, early release of videos, priority replying comments, and getting to decide weekly videos. So make sure you hit that join button. But with that, let's do this. All right, so for the record, once again, this is not one that I created. This is one that I found on the internet. So if your favorite character is missing from this list, I apologize. It does look like it's only including like the main characters and the like upper moons. So if you were hoping for a lower moon or like an NPC, so sorry. It is gonna take me a while to get through this, I think. So I wanted to keep it as quick as possible. So, starting with Daki and Gyutaro. I am going to be very honest with y'all right off the bat. Most of the demon deaths don't really get to me. I am a firm believer that the show is trying to show us that these demons, while they have messed up past, they still made the wrong choice and they still need to atone for their sins. There's very few demons that I legitimately cry over. Daki and Gyutaro, I have gotten fairly close to, just because of their parallels with Tanjiro and Nezuko and everything they went through. I do definitely have a soft spot for very like strong sibling bonds and that sort of thing. So they're up there when it comes to, you know, tears and emotions for a death of a demon. But that being said, they still were demons and I still felt like they needed to, like that was part of the whole story, is that none of these demons can be forgiven to the point of not being killed. So I'm gonna put them in cried because I'm not necessarily neutral on it, but I definitely didn't bathe in tears over them. So we'll leave it at that. Next we have Gyomei. So Gyomei, I love as a character, but I think when it comes to everything that happens in that final battle with the Infinity Castle as well as Sunrise Countdown, him and one other character, you know what? No, I'm thinking about the circumstances and the way he saw all of his orphans and they apologized and said they were trying to help him and stuff. That got to me. That really, really, really got to me. I kind of saw it coming because of everything with the fight against Kokushibo, with the mark and all that stuff, but that doesn't change the fact, like I've been spoiled on so many character deaths in a lot of different shows, but even when you see it coming when it actually happens, if you still cry, I feel like that's a sign that it's a really emotional death. So I didn't have to take a break from reading. Maybe the chapter alone did, because that whole chapter was just like bang, 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 say goodbye to everybody. I'm gonna put this one definitely above Daki and Gyutaro, but not enough to make it like I needed to take a break. So I will put that in bathed in my tears because Gyomei is a lovable character. I love all 9 Hashira very dearly. He is a little bit lower on my list just because I felt like there was something missing with his development, but the way it was written, I thought his death was actually like a very beautiful ending to a very tragic character. Doma was definitely, here's our first one that goes in laughed. I am a certified Doma hater. If you love Doma, I'm so sorry. I find him to be very interesting, but I also hate him. Like, he's better than some other characters, which we'll talk about in a little while, that will also go in laughed. But I still laughed when he died, especially with the circumstances of him being like weirdly into Shinobu in that moment and her being like, oh, thank God you finally died. And just how satisfying it was after all of the backstory and emotions that we felt for Kanao and Inosuke leading up to it. It was so satisfying that I have to put it in laughed because I think I did kind of giggle when it happened. I was like, yes, finally. Yoriichi. Okay, Yoriichi is like kind of tough because like some of the other characters on here, he obviously is already dead before the canon story. He lived 300 years ago. His is a little bit different because we do actually see how he died within the backstory of Kokushibo. However, it didn't really make me emotional because I knew that he was already dead, you know, obviously, because it happened so long ago. When a character like from present day dies, I feel like that's much more emotional because it's like, oh my God, like we've spent so much time with this character. But for him, like I knew it was gonna happen. I saw it coming, and the circumstances were more like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy because he died standing. I didn't necessarily feel insanely emotional about it. I don't even know if I can put this in cried because I definitely did not cry. I feel like I should put something in between cried and neutral as like sad, I guess. Maybe I should just, I'm gonna change the names. I cried a lot. Sad. Meh. And then I'm gonna put this one as like, thank God. I think that's about what I did for the Naruto deaths tier list, so I'll do the same for this one. So I'm gonna still put it in sad because I can't classify it as meh. It was still a very emotional story, and I am gonna be talking about Kokushibo fairly soon, and obviously Yoriichi is going to be a part of that video because so much of what happens with Kokushibo is tied with Yoriichi. So I'm gonna put that one in sad just because that's just kind of where it fits. Okay, so we have our first and I think only death fake out here. Demon Slayer doesn't have very many death fake outs. It really is only the two Kamado siblings, I want to say. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe those are the only two death fake outs, but I'm noticing Nezuko isn't on this list, but Tanjiro is, which I do kind of agree with because Tanjiro was like clinically dead. I don't care what people say. I don't care if you're like, but this is a death fake out. This is my first took a break from reading because of a couple different reasons. So first things first, when it happened, I was like, are you serious right now? They're killing off the main character. They're doing it. Like they're going for it. And then you add to it Gyu's reaction. This is up there. I think this whole situation is starting with like Gyu thinking he is dead, saying I failed to protect someone again. I always receive help from the others, and then he starts apologizing to Nezuko. Like all of that is very emotional to me. And then like what takes place afterwards when he becomes a demon, and of course like the I can't do it Tanjiro is I think my most emotional moment. So I have to put this in took a break from reading because I do think throughout those like 2 chapters, I had multiple times where I had to kind of pause and take a breath because it's a lot. It's a lot to throw at you, especially right after the chapter where like all of these Hashira also die. It's just like, it's so much to take on at once. And it is the end of the story. So usually at the end of the story, there is a lot going on like that. But man, oh man, Tanjiro is my favorite character. So even though it's a death fake out, he ends up surviving. It's still a very, very emotional part of the story for me that y'all need to check on me. Because when that 3rd movie comes out, if Sunrise Countdown is in fact a part of the 3rd movie, which I think it probably is, that means that when this movie ends, not only will I have just gone through all of the pain of everything that happens in that final arc, but it'll also be the end of Demon Slayer. I don't want to think about it, okay? You know what? Never mind. They can wait until 2040 for all I care to make that final movie. It's fine. I'm fine. All right, next is Rengoku. Rengoku is an interesting one because I feel like I kind of sit in the middle of there's like one side that's like, this is the saddest thing ever, like in all of anime, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a side that's like, I couldn't care less because I just met him. I feel like both sides are very extreme. So I find myself in the middle. I cry every single time. I watch Mugen Train. But I do think that most of my tears are more related to the way Tanjiro specifically reacts and like Inosuke Zenitsu. Like all of the reaction of the characters around what's going on makes me very emotional, mostly Tanjiro. But Rengoku himself, I do love dearly. In fact, he's probably like my third or fourth favorite Hashira. So he's up there. I think they developed him very well for a short period of time. It's a sign of great character development that you can meet a character and then 2 hours later they die, and it makes most people very, very emotional. So for that reason, I did not have to take a break. I'm gonna put it in I cried a lot because it does. Every time I watch Mugen Train, it makes me cry a lot. And I think I cry a little bit more every single time just because the more time that I get with the story and understanding the characters, the more difficult it becomes. So I'm putting that in I cried a lot just because I feel like my emotions more are for the characters around him, less than it is like I'm crying over him dying. Okay, this one was a full like, F you, I laughed a lot. This is a full thank God, and that is Gyoko. This character has no saving qualities. Every time someone's like, oh, why do you hate Gyoko so much? I'm like, why do you like him? Gyoko is like one of the only characters in the story that is supposed to be just like hated. Like they don't even give him a backstory. They don't even try to give him some background. I think he got a backstory in like a light novel or something, but even then that backstory is like, oh, his parents drowned and he made art out of it because he was crazy. He was just, yeah, thank God, and laughed. Which leads me to, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think I forgot that this happened. Well, okay, so I read it, I knew it happened. By the time I finished, I had forgotten that it had happened, especially in the way that it had happened. And then when I read it the second time, I read the manga all the way through the second time, I read that chapter again and was like, oh, I forgot about this. I think it was so alarming that I removed it from my memory. Like I shut out this memory for a couple of reasons. Number one is Muichiro is literally like the youngest of all of the present Slayers. He's 14, probably 15 by the end of the show because his birthday is in August and Infinity Castle clearly happened like in the winter time. But goodness me, like he's so young and he has probably one of the more horrific ways of dying, being sliced in half. Yeah, oh God. This is gonna be the next movie. I think this is gonna happen in the next movie. I don't think y'all understand. I might go MIA. I'm either gonna go completely MIA or I'm gonna start posting so much just to cope with dealing with this second movie that people are gonna be like, are you okay? So this one absolutely, I don't know if I like, okay, I definitely took a break from reading after I read that chapter. It is just such a difficult chapter to get through. Every time someone's like chapter 179, I can't even like, oh man, like they just hit it on hard. And even though there's less deaths in 179 over, I think it's 200 or 201, I think 179 hits harder. I think it's because of the age of Muichiro and the other character, which we'll get to in a moment. Kokushibo. I don't know if I can... Okay, this wasn't a thank God. It kind of was because he was another one that was very like, come on, just die already. Because he also, the same as Akaza, kind of has the ability to just regenerate even when he's beheaded. And it just feels like it takes forever for him to actually die. So like, in one way, there was a thank God, but it was definitely something that I felt a bit more emotional about just because of his story. Again though, I don't feel bad for him at all. I don't ever really feel bad for him because his story is more about like him just being jealous. And yeah, like there is the idea of you just feel inferior all the time, and that's a very human emotion to feel that way towards someone who's just constantly naturally stronger than you. As a figure skater, I have watched so many skaters that were just more talented than me, just pass me up really quickly, even though I worked incredibly hard. Like, I get that, but at the same time, I don't feel bad for him. So do I have to, I have to put this one in meh because let's put it in sad. Let's put it in sad because I feel like I have slightly more emotions over it than meh, but it's definitely not quite on the line of like Kyoko and Doma, because there was a feeling of thank God, but it wasn't like a finally. It was like a, oh, you know, that's a little sad. His story is very tragic, just in a very different way than a lot of the other demons. Mitsuri. Okay, I would say her death makes me almost angry. I'm not gonna lie. For the record, a lot of people say, like, if they could save one Hashira, they would save her, which I agree with, but also, I don't like the whole romance where one person dies and the other one lives on. You're lying, April, I'm looking at you. Those are, like, the worst kinds of stories for me. Attack on Titan, like, those kinds of things, like, I can only handle so often. If there's gonna be romance and someone's gonna die, I would prefer that both die. However, the reason I say it kind of made me angry is I just felt like Mitsuri was not utilized properly in the final battle, which I'll make a video about that at some point, but I felt like she just kind of got the short end of the stick. So for her to kind of be like not even really that present for most of the final battle and then to just die in the end was like, and it was off screen too. We didn't even get to see their actual, I feel like every single character gets like an on-screen death except for them and Tanjiro. But his was a fake out, so it's like, it doesn't really matter. So that being said, I'm gonna have to put it, and I cried a lot, but I'm gonna put it at the top here because I did. And I love Mitsuri. Mitsuri is right up there with Rengoku on my favorites list. So it's kind of those two that switch off constantly, whether it's 3 or 4, it's usually rotating between those two. So I feel like I just had to put it there because, yeah, I mean, I was just a sobbing mess for that chapter. It was just like one after another. You don't have time to breathe. You just have to keep seeing these beloved characters die. It's like, come on. Makes the story good though, because the stakes are very high. So Makomo, I had to put meh because I'm sorry. I don't care that much. I understand why people care. I just don't. And that's all I'm gonna say about it, because this next one is probably the worst one of them all. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said with Rengoku, and I think I've talked about this before in some videos, when it comes to character deaths, it really is more of how the other characters around react that makes me the most emotional. Like with Tanjiro, the whole situation, the reason that he's all the way up at the highest tier is because everyone's reaction to that whole situation. Because at the end of the day, he didn't even stay dead, right? Same with Rengoku, the same with Gyome, like it was like how the Kakashi and how the orphans were there when he died. Like it usually has to do with the people around him. I also am a sucker for siblings, whether it's doomed siblings, whether it's a bond. Like when it comes to Sanemi and Genya, that one is probably the most heartbreaking storyline in the story for me. So for Genya to die when he's already one of my favorite characters, and then on top of that, Sanemi's reaction to it, this one is the one I don't know I will ever recover from. I want to kind of move on because I don't want to keep talking about it, because it's like, it kind of comes out of nowhere. It almost feels unearned because he only dies because Kokushibo dies and he still had Kokushibo's ability. Like it was some weird loophole where it's like if Kokushibo had just died like a few minutes later, Genya probably would have at least survived that. I don't know if he would have been able to survive the next big fight, but goodness me. When I say I forgot about Muichiro, it is partially because I like removed it from memory, but also the situation with Genya was so like gobsmacking me, like what the hell? Like that's what I was thinking in my head the whole entire time with Sanemi, and they were never able to reconcile even though they both wanted to. When I hear voice acting and music, it's over for me, dog. I'm not ready. Okay, let's move on because I don't want to cry right now. Akaza. So Akaza is probably the demon I cried for the most because I feel like his story is the pinnacle of just like the very sad backstories for demons. I feel like from here on out, the backstories we're getting might be interesting, might be a little bit emotional, but they're not at the level of the emotions that you feel for Akaza. I definitely cry over Akaza's story. I will put Akaza in I cried a lot because I do, that's mean that I put it next to Rengoku. I do cry over his death, for sure. Every time I've seen it in the movies, Every time I read the backstory, it made me cry. The only reason I'm like a little bit about it is, again, I feel like it's so clear in the story that these demon backstories are meant to give us a reason why they act that way, not give us a reason to forgive them. Like, it's a reason why, not a reason to forgive, right? So I can mourn for his story and what happened to him and say, yes, he didn't get a choice. Like, he was just like either gonna die or turn into a demon, right? So I have like a little bit more empathy for him, but at the same time, like, he still did all those horrible things for hundreds of years. So yeah, he's the only one that deserves I cried a lot, because I do cry a lot over it. Kagaya. This one is more like shock factor than anything else. I have some hot takes on Kagaya. That video is probably actually gonna come very soon, because I've been thinking up a video about Kagaya that I think y'all are gonna love. I'm just putting the finishing touches on, like, kind of scripting it, outlining it, that sort of thing. That being said, it was a very shock factor type death. I've teared up once. One time I was watching it, and it was more because of Amane and the way they animated her, like, slowly leaning into him in slow motion, which Amane isn't here, so I'm gonna include her as well. I'm gonna put this at sad, because Kagaya is a character I can't bring myself to care a ton about. Like, he's a very good character, but he just doesn't really speak to me as like, oh my gosh, I love him so much. And the conditions in which he died was very like, what the heck? So it still is a little bit sad. It's more than meh, but it's definitely not a like, oh, I cried so much over it. Okay, this might be a big hot take. People are gonna come for me, but Kanai is meh. I try so hard to care about her. I just can't. I can't. I don't know why. I'm happy she has fans. I forever don't understand why people have her as their favorite character when she lives within the realm of backstory and we barely know anything about her. Like, she's great and all. Like, there was a whole Twitter discourse thing a few weeks ago that was about Kanai, like, and it was overtaking Demon Slayer Twitter, and I was just like, bro, like, why are we having such like toxic, heated arguments over a character that has like 5 minutes total of screen time and only serves as a plot device for another character? Like, I don't know. People are gonna be like, you're just using her, blah, 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 blah. That's because that's what she is. That's what she serves in the story. She does not live in present day. Therefore, I just don't care. I just don't care. Obanai. So Obanai is interesting. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I love all 9 Hashira. I love all of them dearly. Obanai is my least favorite for a couple of reasons. Number one, his personality is just not my jam. His personality is just not my thing, okay? Number two is he gets the backstory so late in the story that it's, by that point, I'm just over it. I'm like, guys, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just too much. This is too emotional. Everyone has been through so much trauma, and he went through so much trauma, but it just took too long to get there. At that point, I had withstanding feelings of like kind of meh towards him that nothing could change my mind. I say that as I say I still do love him. Like, I do think his story is interesting, and it made me love him a lot more, and I liked the dynamic between him and Tanjiro in that final little bit. But I didn't feel as sad about him as I did Mitsuri. So I'm gonna put it in sad. Because it still was sad, but it wasn't like my tears for that chapter were more Gyome, Mitsuri, and Tanjiro. So I'm just gonna do that. All right, Sabito, also so sorry. I think we can establish that most of the characters that were dead prior to the present timeline, with all of the deaths in this show, like, I have to save my tears sometimes. I have to, otherwise I'm never gonna stop crying. And I'm not going to stop crying for the last 2 movies, but that's another time for another day. That didn't make any sense. Kaigaku, thank God. I still have a hot take on him. I really want to make a video about him, but no one ever wants me to make a video about him. I have some thoughts on Kaigaku that might surprise some people. Am I a huge fan of his? No. But do I think he's severely misunderstood by this fandom? Yes. That being said, he's still a jerk. I still hate him. Do I flip the bird every time I watch him die on screen? Yes, I've done that every single time I've gone to the theaters. I've been like, giving him the finger, because that's what he deserves. But interesting character, deserves more, I don't know if more love is the right term, but deserves more interest, deserves more curiosity, I'll say. So He's still, thank God, but I want to make a video about him. I might just like make a video about him and say, watch it. I don't care that he keeps losing the polls. Hantengu, thank God. Bro, oh my gosh. There was so much happening when he died, but I think I actually said the words thank God when Tanjiro beheaded him. Like, thank God. Like, why did he had a different type of like, why does he keep living? And it was the most annoying thing ever, which was on purpose. It wasn't like bad writing. It was like, it was meant to be annoying. Oh man, that, yeah. The whole circumstances with that scene though, the scene itself, I had to take a break. I was like, what the heck? But his death in general, thank God. Shinobu. Shinobu's an interesting one because I feel like I have to classify this above sad because I definitely have more emotions over her death than the ones that are in sad, but I've actually never cried over it. I've not shed one tear over her death specifically. I've shed a lot of tears over Kanao and Inosuke and like them realizing and that sort of thing. But when it comes to her death, and again, I think it's more of the shock factor thing. It's more of the first time I read it, I had to go back and read it again because I didn't understand what was happening. And then when I figured out what was happening, I was sick to my stomach. Like her death is just, it's so fast, which it's set up in a way where it happens so early on in this final battle and we have to move on from it so quickly. It's to show us like, hey, this is war. You have to just keep going. And these characters, they don't have time to grieve. So you as an audience don't have time to grieve. But I'm going to put it in I cried a lot because even though I haven't actually cried, it's more than sad. It's like in between there. It's like this is crazy. It's more of a shock factor death, but it has a lot of emotions. When it comes to her specific death, I don't know why I can't cry over it. But believe me, the second movie, when we get more development with that fight with Inosuke, with Kanao, I will be sobbing my eyes out. So don't worry. It'll move up to I took a break from reading once that part gets animated. Muzan, that was a thank God. When he turned into a baby, I was like, brother. Desperate. And Jigoro is probably the only character outside of Yoriichi that, well, he's not just in the past character either. Like, he's alive for a lot of the story. He does have an off-screen death, but like the development with him and Zenitsu, that would definitely be sad. That's definitely a sad because that is a very emotional entire sequence. I feel like I should put Shinobu in, because now that I think about it, I've been like kind of with all these characters talking a lot about like the other reactions and stuff. But with Shinobu's, for some reason, I was like, well, her death specifically. No, I'm gonna leave it in I cried a lot because I did cry a lot over Inosuke and Kanao's like reaction and everything that went down. So I'll leave that in I cried a lot because the rest of the story that happens revolving around her does make me cry. It was just like her specific death was just so like, ugh. Jigoro's specific death's like, but it's like the development of Zenitsu and the reasons why and that sort of thing is very emotional. So there you have it. I haven't read the manga in a while, so I do feel like some of these deaths I just kind of rush through because I'm a little bit more like desensitized to them right now. If I read the manga again, I'm gonna get way more emotional. And when these movies come out, I'm not gonna be okay, but there's my list. What is your list? You guys let me know. Demon Slayer is definitely a story that has a lot of deaths in it, but I think that in a way, that's a good thing because it makes the story feel very real. It makes the story have stakes because these characters are not all surviving. I think one of my biggest like complaints in finishing Naruto was once we got to the final war, that was when the deaths like stopped. We only had one from there on out of like the good side. So with Demon Slayer, it was like, nobody is safe. So I'm not gonna be okay when all of this gets animated. It's gonna be crazy, but that is gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, your thoughts. Let me know again what your tier list is, and I will see you all in the next one. Mata ne!